Picture yourself standing in front of a mirror, watching your reflection move as you wave your hand. Now imagine discovering that you, the person waving, might not actually exist in 3 dimensions at all. What if everything you've ever experienced, every breath you've taken, every step you've walked, is nothing more than information projected from a flat, 2-dimensional surface somewhere at the edge of the universe? What if your entire reality is quite literally a hologram, and the most brilliant minds in physics are quietly gathering evidence that this isn't science fiction, but the deepest truth about the nature of existence itself? Welcome to a journey into one of the most unsettling and beautiful discoveries in modern science. I'm so glad you're here, settling in for what might be the most mind-bending exploration we'll take together. Whether you're curled up in bed, walking through a quiet evening, or just trying to make sense of this strange universe we call home, you've found the right place. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into the holographic principle, a discovery so profound that it's quietly rewriting everything we thought we knew about space, time, and the very fabric of reality. Now, I do hope this won't keep you awake all night wondering about the nature of your own existence, but if it does, well, at least you'll be pondering one of the most elegant and mysterious ideas in all of physics. Before we begin this journey into the 2-dimensional universe, I'd be grateful if you could take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more curious minds like yours find their way to these explorations of the deepest questions science has to offer. And I'm curious, where in the world are you right now as you listen to this? What time is it in your corner of reality? Leave a comment and let me know. There's something wonderfully grounding about knowing that these ideas are reaching people in quiet moments all across our strange, possibly holographic world. Let's begin with a story that sounds like it belongs in a philosophy textbook rather than a physics journal. Imagine you're looking at a hologram on a credit card, one of those shimmering images that seems to pop out in 3 dimensions when you tilt it in the light. The remarkable thing about that hologram isn't just that it looks 3-dimensional, it's that all the information needed to create that 3-dimensional image is actually stored on the flat, 2-dimensional surface of the card itself. Now, what if I told you that the universe might work exactly the same way? What if every star you've ever wished upon, every mountain you've ever climbed, every person you've ever loved, every thought you've ever had is actually information encoded on a distant 2-dimensional boundary, projected inward to create the illusion of the 3-dimensional world you experience? This isn't the premise of a science fiction novel. This is the holographic principle, one of the most profound and unsettling theories in modern physics, and the evidence supporting it is growing stronger each year. The idea emerged from the brilliant minds of theoretical physicists Gerard 't Hooft and Leonard Susskind in the 1990s, not as an abstract thought experiment, but as a desperate attempt to solve one of the most troubling paradoxes in physics. You see, there was a problem, a big one. It involved black holes' information and a fundamental law of physics that seemed to be breaking down at the event horizon of every black hole in the universe. Stephen Hawking had calculated that black holes could evaporate completely through what we now call Hawking radiation, taking with them any information that had ever fallen past their event horizons. But quantum mechanics, one of the most successful theories in all of science, insists that information cannot be destroyed. Ever. This created what physicists call the black hole information paradox, and it was keeping brilliant minds awake at night. If information really could be destroyed in black holes, then quantum mechanics was wrong. If quantum mechanics was right, then something else entirely was happening to that information. The resolution to this paradox would require thinking about reality in a way that no human had ever considered before. The breakthrough came when physicists realized something extraordinary about black holes. The maximum amount of information that could be stored in a black hole wasn't proportional to its volume, as you might expect. Instead, it was proportional to the surface area of its event horizon. This was like discovering that the storage capacity of a box depended not on how much space was inside it, but on how much surface area it had on the outside. This revelation led to an even more startling possibility. What if the black hole's interior, with all its mysterious physics and warped space-time, was actually a holographic projection of information stored on the two-dimensional surface of its event horizon? What if there was no interior at all in any meaningful sense, but only information on the boundary that gave rise to the appearance of an interior? And if this was true for black holes, why not for the entire universe? Now you might be thinking this all sounds rather abstract, perhaps even a bit silly. After all, you can feel the three-dimensional world around you. You can reach out and touch objects, walk through space, experience depth and distance. How could any of this be an illusion projected from a flat surface? The answer lies in mathematics so elegant and precise that it's convinced thousands of physicists that we need to fundamentally reconsider what we mean by reality. The mathematical foundation of the holographic universe comes through something called the AD-S-CFT correspondence, discovered by Juan Maldacena in 1997. This discovery was so significant that by 2015, Maldacena's original paper had been cited over 10,000 times, making it the most referenced article in high-energy physics. The AD-CFT correspondence is essentially a mathematical dictionary that allows physicists to translate between two seemingly different descriptions of reality. On one side, you have a gravitational theory existing in a higher dimensional space called anti-de Sitter space. On the other side, you have a quantum field theory existing on the boundary of that space in fewer dimensions. The correspondence states that these two theories are not just similar or related, they are mathematically equivalent in every conceivable way. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a book written in English and the same book translated perfectly into French. Every idea, every nuance, every piece of information in the English book has a perfect counterpart in the French book. The AD-CFT correspondence suggests that our three-dimensional reality and a two-dimensional theory on its boundary are like those two books, different languages describing identical content. The most famous example involves a five-dimensional gravitational theory that is perfectly equivalent to a four-dimensional quantum field theory on its boundary. When physicists perform calculations in the five-dimensional theory and then perform corresponding calculations in the four-dimensional boundary theory, they get exactly the same answers. Not approximately the same, not similar, but identical to extraordinary precision. This isn't just theoretical speculation anymore. Thousands of calculations have been performed, testing every aspect of this correspondence, and it works with a precision that would make a Swiss watchmaker weep with joy. The mathematics is so robust, so thoroughly tested, that most physicists now accept that the holographic principle isn't just possible, it's likely a fundamental feature of how reality works. Hey! But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. If a five-dimensional gravitational theory can be perfectly equivalent to a four-dimensional boundary theory, and if our universe appears to be four-dimensional, then perhaps our reality is actually the boundary theory of some higher dimensional space. Perhaps everything we experience is the holographic projection of information encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the cosmos. To understand how profound this idea truly is, we need to step back and consider what it means for reality to be made of information rather than matter and energy. This represents perhaps the most radical shift in thinking since we discovered that the Earth orbits the Sun rather than the other way around. For centuries, we've thought of information as something we use to describe physical objects. We measure their mass, their temperature, their velocity, and we record that information to help us understand the world. But what if we have it backwards? What if information isn't something we use to describe reality, but the very substance from which reality is constructed? Jacob Bekenstein, one of the pioneers in understanding the connection between information and physics, once speculated that we might need to regard the physical world as made of information, with energy and matter as incidentals. Imagine that for a moment. Every atom in your body, every photon of light streaming through your window, every force holding the universe together, might be nothing more than patterns of information, like the bits and bytes on a computer hard drive. This isn't just philosophical speculation. It's grounded in rigorous calculations about how much information can be stored in any region of space. The Bekenstein bound, named after Jacob Bekenstein, places a fundamental limit on the information content of any physical system. A device measuring just 1 centimeter across could, in principle, hold up to 10 to the 66 bits of information. That's a number so vast that if you wrote it out in normal notation, it would stretch across multiple lines of text. The visible universe, according to these calculations, contains at least 10 to 100 bits of entropy, which could theoretically be encoded on a 2-dimensional surface. Think about that for a moment. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every grain of sand, every thought you've ever had could be represented as information on a cosmic holographic screen. But here's what makes this more than just an abstract mathematical curiosity. Scientists have begun searching for observational evidence that our universe actually works this way, and they're finding it in the most ancient light we can observe. The cosmic microwave background radiation is like a baby picture of the universe, showing us what the cosmos looked like when it was just 380,000 years old. And this ancient light carries within its patterns the seeds of all the galaxies, stars, and structures we see today. It's our most direct observational link to the universe's infancy, and if the holographic principle is correct, we should be able to see its signatures written in this primordial glow. In 2017, a team of researchers from the UK, Canada, and Italy published what many consider to be the first observational evidence supporting the holographic universe theory. They analysed the patterns and irregularities in the cosmic microwave background with unprecedented precision, comparing what they observed against predictions from both traditional 3-dimensional cosmological models and holographic 2-dimensional models. The results were remarkable. The holographic models fit the observational data just as well as the standard models of cosmology. In some cases, they fit even better. The specific patterns of temperature fluctuations across the ancient sky, the way matter was distributed in the early universe, the subtle correlations between distant regions of space, all could be explained by a holographic model where the information about our 3-dimensional cosmos was encoded on a 2-dimensional boundary. This wasn't a case of forcing the data to fit a preferred theory. The researchers approached their analysis with scientific skepticism, fully expecting the holographic models to fail when confronted with real observational data. Instead, they found that some of the simplest quantum field theories operating on a cosmic boundary could explain nearly all cosmological observations of the early universe. Think about what this means. The light that has been travelling through space for over 13 billion years, the oldest radiation we can detect, bears the signature of holographic physics. If the holographic principle is correct, then from the very first moments after the Big Bang, our universe has been displaying the characteristics of a projection from a lower dimensional boundary. But the search for evidence doesn't stop with ancient light. Scientists have built sophisticated experiments designed to detect the holographic nature of reality in real time, searching for the subtle signatures of a pixelated, information-based cosmos. Deep beneath the Illinois prairie, at Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory, sits one of the most unusual experiments ever constructed. The holometer, as it's called, is designed to detect something that shouldn't exist if our understanding of space and time is correct. It's searching for holographic noise, quantum fluctuations in the fabric of space-time itself that would be present if our universe is indeed a holographic projection. The concept behind the holometer is both elegant and mind-bending. If space-time is truly continuous and smooth at the smallest scales, as Einstein's general relativity suggests, then the experiment should detect nothing unusual. But if space-time is actually pixelated, made up of discrete units of information, like the pixels on a computer screen, then the holometer should detect tiny, persistent vibrations in the fabric of reality itself. Craig Hogan, the director of Fermilab's Center for Particle Astrophysics and the mastermind behind the holometer, describes the search this way: "We want to find out whether space-time is a quantum system just like matter is. If we see something, it will completely change ideas about space we've used for thousands of years." The experiment uses interferometry, the same basic principle behind the detection of gravitational waves, to search for incredibly subtle variations in the length of laser beams. These variations would be so small that they would correspond to movements of about 1 millimeter per year, roughly 10 times slower than continental drift. But if detected, they would represent direct evidence that reality is fundamentally digital at its core. The holometer operates by splitting laser beams and sending them down perpendicular arms, then measuring how the beams interfere when they're recombined. Any holographic noise in space-time would cause tiny fluctuations in the length of these arms, creating detectable patterns in the interference. The experiment is sensitive enough to detect variations smaller than the width of a proton, pushing the boundaries of what's technically possible with current technology. So far, the holometer hasn't detected the predicted holographic noise, but that doesn't necessarily mean the holographic principle is wrong. It could mean that if our universe is holographic, the noise operates at scales or in ways that the current experiment can't detect. The absence of a signal still provides valuable information, placing constraints on possible holographic models and guiding future searches. Other experiments are approaching the question from different angles. Some researchers have proposed looking for holographic signatures in gravitational wave detectors, others in particle accelerator data, and still others in the fine structure of cosmic ray interactions. The search for direct evidence of our holographic nature is just beginning, and the tools are becoming more sophisticated each year. Perhaps the most profound implication of the holographic principle isn't to describe completely different aspects of reality using incompatible mathematical languages his theory of general relativity with quantum mechanics. These two pillars of modern physics seem, and making contradictory predictions about what happens at the smallest scales. General relativity describes gravity as the curvature of space-time, a smooth, continuous field that shapes the paths of planets and the trajectories of light. Quantum mechanics describes the other three fundamental forces through the exchange of discrete particles, operating in a probabilistic framework where uncertainty is built into the very fabric of nature. For nearly 100 years, attempts to merge these theories have met with mathematical inconsistencies and physical paradoxes, but the holographic principle offers an unexpected resolution. If gravity is not a fundamental force, but rather an emergent property of quantum information processing on a lower dimensional boundary, then the apparent conflict between general relativity and quantum mechanics might be an illusion. Gravity would emerge from the collective behavior of quantum processes on the holographic boundary, much like the three-dimensional image emerges from information stored on a two-dimensional hologram. This idea has been tested extensively through the ADAS-CFT correspondence. Researchers can perform calculations about gravitational phenomena in the higher dimensional space and get identical results by performing quantum mechanical calculations on the lower dimensional boundary. The curved spacetime of general relativity emerges naturally from the quantum field theory on the boundary, providing a concrete example of how these seemingly incompatible theories might actually be two different descriptions of the same underlying reality. The implications extend far beyond abstract physics. If gravity is indeed emergent from holographic information processing, it could explain why gravity is so much weaker than the other fundamental forces. It might also provide insights into the nature of dark matter and dark energy, the mysterious components that make up 95% of the universe, but interact primarily through gravity. Some researchers have even speculated that the holographic principle might help us understand consciousness itself. If information is the fundamental building block of reality, and if consciousness emerges from information processing, then perhaps the boundary between mind and matter is not as clear as we've always assumed. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's return to the evidence that's accumulating for our holographic universe. As we've journeyed through the mathematics and observations supporting the holographic principle, a picture begins to emerge of a reality far stranger and more beautiful than anything our ancestors could have imagined. But we've only just begun to explore the implications of living in a holographic universe. What does it mean for the nature of time? How does it change our understanding of consciousness and free will? And perhaps most importantly, what would it feel like to live in a reality that's fundamentally two-dimensional, even though it appears three-dimensional to us? These questions lead us deeper into the mystery, toward revelations that might fundamentally change not just how we understand the universe, but how we understand ourselves within it. The evidence is mounting, the mathematics is elegant, and the observations are beginning to align. We may be on the verge of the most profound shift in human understanding since we realized we weren't at the center of the solar system. But first, we need to explore what happens when consciousness meets quantum mechanics in ways that might make our holographic reality seem tame by comparison. Because if you think the idea of living in a two-dimensional universe is mind-bending, wait until you discover what quantum mechanics suggests about the nature of consciousness itself, and why some scientists are terrified by the possibility that awareness might never truly end. The more we dive into the holographic principle, the more we realize that our everyday assumptions about reality might be nothing more than convenient illusions. But here's where things become truly unsettling. Three-dimensional world is indeed a projection from a two-dimensional boundary in the most beautiful way possible. If then the very concepts of here and there, of distance and separation, begin to lose their meaning in ways that would have made ancient philosophers weep with joy. Consider this remarkable possibility. In a holographic universe, two objects that appear to be separated by vast distances in our three-dimensional experience might actually be adjacent to each other on the two-dimensional boundary where the real information is stored. Imagine looking at a hologram of a vast landscape, where mountains appear in the distance and flowers seem close at hand. But on the holographic film itself, the information encoding those distant mountains might be right next to the information encoding those nearby flowers. This leads us to one of the most profound implications of holographic physics. What we experience as locality, the idea that objects can only directly influence other objects that are nearby, might be an emergent property rather than a fundamental feature of reality. On the holographic boundary, everything might be connected to everything else in ways that our three-dimensional brains simply cannot comprehend. The mathematics supporting this idea comes from deep studies of quantum entanglement within holographic systems. Researchers have discovered that when two regions of space become entangled at the quantum level, they create what's called an Einstein-Rosen bridge, or wormhole in the holographic description. But here's the remarkable part. This wormhole isn't a tunnel through space in the traditional sense. It's a manifestation of the fact that the information describing these two regions is intimately connected on the holographic boundary. Juan Maldatina and Leonard Susskind have proposed that entanglement equals geometry. This means that the geometric structure of space-time itself, the very stage upon which all physics plays out, might emerge from patterns of quantum entanglement on the holographic boundary. Space and time, the two things that seem most fundamental to our existence, might be nothing more than emergent properties of information relationships. Think about what this means for your own experience. Every time you reach across a table to pick up a cup of tea, every time you look across a room and see a friend's face, you might actually be experiencing the projection of information patterns that exist in a completely different dimensional framework. The distance your hand travels, the light that carries your friend's image to your eyes, all of it might be the three-dimensional shadow cast by two-dimensional information processing. This isn't just abstract speculation anymore. Researchers working with the ADS-CFT correspondence have been able to demonstrate mathematically that geometric properties like distance, curvature, and even the topology of space itself can emerge from purely quantum mechanical processes on a lower dimensional boundary. They've shown that when quantum systems on the boundary become more entangled, the corresponding geometry in the higher dimensional space becomes more connected. Now, if you're feeling a slight sense of vertigo as we explore these ideas, that's perfectly natural. We're venturing into territory where the solid ground of everyday experience begins to feel rather less solid. But here's where our journey takes perhaps its most fascinating turn, because we need to ask a question that goes to the very heart of what it means to be conscious in a potentially holographic universe. If everything you've ever experienced is information projected from a two-dimensional boundary, then what does that make consciousness itself? Are you, the awareness, reading these words and contemplating these ideas, also a pattern of information encoded on that distant cosmic screen? Or are you something else entirely, something that observes the holographic projection but exists outside of it? This question becomes even more intriguing when we consider the role of information in modern theories of consciousness. Many neuroscientists and philosophers now believe that consciousness arises from information integration, the way different pieces of information combine and interact within complex systems like the brain. If this is true, And if all information in our universe is ultimately encoded on a holographic boundary, then consciousness itself might be a holographic phenomenon. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. Some researchers have begun to explore the possibility that consciousness might not just be encoded on the holographic boundary, but might actually be a fundamental feature of how that boundary processes information. In this view, awareness wouldn't be something that emerges from complex arrangements of matter and energy, but would be an intrinsic property of information itself. This idea connects to a growing movement in consciousness studies called panpsychism, the notion that consciousness is a fundamental feature of reality, present at some level in all physical systems. If our universe is indeed holographic, and if consciousness is fundamental to information processing, then awareness might be woven into the very fabric of the two-dimensional boundary that gives rise to our three-dimensional experience. Consider the implications. Every decision you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience might be part of a vast information processing system operating on a cosmic scale. Your individual consciousness might be one thread in an incomprehensibly complex tapestry of awareness that spans the entire holographic boundary of the universe. This doesn't diminish the reality or importance of your individual experience. If anything, it suggests that your consciousness is connected to something far grander and more mysterious than a simple biological information processor confined to the space between your ears. You might be, quite literally, a unique perspective through which the universe experiences itself. As we venture deeper into the implications of living in a holographic universe, we encounter perhaps of time itself. In our everyday experience, time seems to flow in one of the most puzzling aspects of our reality, the nature direction, carrying us from past through present into future, like passengers on a cosmic river. But in a holographic universe, even this most basic assumption about existence might need to be reconsidered. The holographic principle suggests that all information about our three-dimensional world, including information about every moment in time, is encoded simultaneously on the two-dimensional boundary. This raises a profound question. If all temporal information exists together on the boundary, then what creates our experience of time's passage? Some researchers have proposed that time, like space, is an emergent property of the holographic encoding process. Just as depth appears to emerge when we view a two-dimensional hologram, temporal flow might emerge from the way information is organized and accessed on the cosmic boundary. Your experience of moving through time might be analogous to playing the information is present a movie from a DVD, all but you experience it simultaneously on the disc, the player sequentially as reads through the data. This perspective offers a radical reframing of memory, anticipation, and the present moment. Your memories of the past and your anticipations of the future might not be reconstructions or predictions, but actual access to information that exists simultaneously on the holographic boundary. The feeling of now might be your consciousness's current position in reading through the holographic encoding of your existence. But here's where this becomes truly fascinating from both a scientific and philosophical perspective. If time is emerged between past, present, and future becomes from holographic information processing, then the boundary much more fluid than our everyday experience suggests. Some interpretations of holographic cosmology suggest that information can flow backward through time on the boundary, creating correlations between events that seem separated by vast temporal distances in our three-dimensional experience. This might explain some of the most puzzling aspects of quantum mechanics, including the famous delayed choice experiments, where decisions made in the present seem to retroactively influence events in the past. If time is emergent rather than fundamental, then such temporal paradoxes might not be paradoxes at all, but natural consequences of the holographic structure of reality. Throughout this exploration, we've been treating the holographic principle as something we can study objectively, as if we were outside observers looking at a universe that happens to be holographic. But if the principle is correct, then we are not outside observers at all. We are part of the holographic projection, patterns of information encoded on the boundary that have somehow become self-aware. This realization brings us to one of the deepest questions in all of science and philosophy. What is the relationship between the observer and the observed? In a holographic universe, this question becomes even more profound because the observer and the observed might be different aspects of the same information processing system. Consider what happens when you look at your own reflection in a mirror. In our everyday understanding, you are the observer. Your reflection is what you observe, and the mirror is a physical object that mediates between them. But in a holographic universe, all three of these elements, you, your reflection, and the mirror, are information patterns projected from the same two-dimensional boundary. The act of observation becomes an interaction between different aspects of the same underlying information system. This has profound implications for the role of consciousness in physics. Many interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that conscious observation plays a crucial role in determining the outcome of quantum events. If consciousness is itself a holographic phenomenon, then the observer effect in quantum mechanics might be an interaction between different layers or regions of the holographic information processing system. Some researchers have begun to explore the possibility that consciousness might be the mechanism through which the holographic boundary selects which aspects of the encoded information to project into our three-dimensional experience. In this view, your awareness doesn't just observe reality, it participates in creating the specific version of reality that you experience. This doesn't mean that you consciously control everything that happens to you, any more than you consciously control your heartbeat or digestion. But it might mean that consciousness plays a more active role in shaping reality than our everyday experience suggests. Your awareness might be one of the processes through which the holographic universe decides which possibilities to actualize and which to leave as unrealized potential. As we near the end of our journey through the holographic universe, we arrive at perhaps the most beautiful and unsettling implication of all. If consciousness, space, time, and matter are all emergent properties of information processing on a two-dimensional boundary, then the boundaries between self and other, between mind and matter, between inside and outside, begin to dissolve in the most profound way. In a holographic universe, your consciousness and the consciousness of every other aware information processing system, the feeling of being a being might be different perspectives of the same underlying separate individual, isolated in your own private world of thoughts and experiences, might be a necessary illusion created by the way the holographic boundary organizes and presents information. This doesn't mean that your individual experience is unreal or unimportant. If anything, it suggests that your unique perspective is an irreplaceable thread in the fabric of cosmic awareness. But it does suggest that the boundaries between minds might be far more fluid than our everyday experience implies. Some researchers studying consciousness within holographic frameworks have proposed that what we experience as empathy, intuition, or even love might be glimpses of the deeper connections that exist on the holographic boundary. When you feel a deep connection with another person, when you seem to know what they're thinking or feeling without being told, you might be accessing information about the connections between your respective patterns on the cosmic boundary. This perspective offers a scientific framework for understanding some of humanity's most profound spiritual insights. The feeling of unity with nature, the sense of being connected to something larger than yourself, the experience of boundaries dissolving during deep meditation or profound love. All of these might be moments when your consciousness gains direct access to the holographic boundary, where individual patterns merge into larger wholes. The holographic principle also offers a new perspective on death and the persistence of consciousness. If your awareness is a pattern of information encoded on a cosmic boundary, then what we call death might be more like a change in the way that information is being processed and projected rather than its complete annihilation. Your individual pattern might persist on the boundary even when it's no longer being projected as a three-dimensional experience. This brings us to some of the most mind-bending implications of quantum mechanics and consciousness, ideas so profound and unsettling that many scientists prefer not to think about them too deeply. Because if consciousness is indeed fundamental to the structure of reality, and if the holographic principle is correct, then we might need to reconsider not just what it means to exist, but what it means for existence to end. The mathematics of quantum mechanics, combined with the holographic principle, suggests possibilities that challenge our most basic assumptions about the nature of life, death, and the continuity of experience. These ideas lead us into territory that some researchers find so disturbing that they've named it after one of the most unsettling thought experiments in physics. But that exploration will have to wait for another journey, one that delves into the quantum mechanical foundations of consciousness and asks whether awareness itself might be truly eternal. For now, we can rest in the strange beauty of knowing that our universe might be far more interconnected, far more conscious, and far more mysterious than anything we could have imagined. The evidence for our holographic reality continues to accumulate. The mathematics grows ever more elegant, and the implications become increasingly profound. We may indeed be living in a two-dimensional universe projected into three dimensions, conscious information patterns contemplating their own nature through the very act of awareness itself. And perhaps in this moment of quiet contemplation, as you absorb these ideas and feel them rearranging your understanding of what it means to exist, you're participating in the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself. Through your awareness, the cosmic hologram looks back upon itself and wonders at its own impossible beauty. As we've travelled through the mathematical landscapes of holographic reality, there's a question that keeps returning, like a gentle tide washing against the shore of our understanding. If you are indeed a pattern of information projected from a two-dimensional boundary, then where exactly are you right now? This isn't just a philosophical riddle. It's a question that cuts to the heart of what the holographic principle means for your moment-to-moment experience of being alive. When you feel the weight of your body settling into stillness, when you notice the rhythm of your breath, when you sense the space around you expanding and contracting with each inhale and exhale, what is actually happening from the perspective of holographic physics? The answer is both beautifully simple and utterly profound. Your sense of location, that feeling of being here rather than there, might be the way your consciousness interprets its position within the vast information processing system of the holographic boundary. Just as a character in a video game experiences themselves as moving through a three-dimensional world while actually being nothing more than delta patterns in a computer's memory, You might experience yourself as occupying a specific location in three-dimensional space while actually being a dynamic pattern of information on a cosmic, two-dimensional surface. But here's what makes this more than just an abstract comparison to digital simulations. The holographic principle suggests that your sense of location is intimately connected to your relationships with everything else in the universe. Your position isn't determined by coordinates in empty space, but by the pattern of information connections that link your consciousness to every other pattern on the boundary. When you feel close to someone you love, when you sense a deep connection to a place that holds meaning for you, when you experience that mysterious feeling of belonging somewhere, you might be detecting the actual information architecture that connects your pattern to other patterns on the holographic boundary. Distance and nearness become measures of information connectivity rather than spatial separation. There's something almost rhythmic about the way holographic information flows, something that mirrors the most fundamental patterns of life itself. Just as your breath moves in cycles of expansion and contraction, the holographic boundary might process information in waves of projection and integration, creating what we experience as the dynamic flow of time and change. This perspective offers a deeply poetic understanding of what it means to be alive in a holographic universe. Your breathing, that most basic and essential of life processes, might be a reflection of something far grander, the cosmic rhythm through which the holographic boundary breathes information into three-dimensional existence and then draws it back into two-dimensional encoding. Consider how this changes your relationship to the present moment. When you take a deep breath and feel your awareness settle into this instant, you're not just calming your nervous system or centering your attention. You're synchronizing your consciousness with the fundamental rhythm through which reality itself pulses between dimensions. The mathematics supporting this idea comes from studies of how information propagates through holographic systems. Researchers have discovered that information doesn't simply exist statically on the holographic boundary. Instead, it flows in complex patterns that create waves of correlation and decorrelation, connection and separation, projection and withdrawal. These information waves might be what we experience as the passage of time, the ebb and flow of thoughts and emotions, and the rhythmic cycles that govern everything, from heartbeats to seasonal changes. Some researchers have even suggested that breathing might be one of the ways conscious beings naturally attune themselves to the holographic processing rhythm of the universe. When you breathe slowly and deeply, when you let your awareness follow the gentle tide of each inhale and exhale, you might be participating in a cosmic synchronization that connects your individual consciousness to the vast information symphony playing out on the boundary of existence. If consciousness is a pattern of information projected from a holographic boundary, then what about the body that houses that consciousness? Your physical form, with its intricate networks of neurons and vessels, its capacity for sensation and movement, its ability to interact with the world, is all of this also a holographic projection? The answer appears to be yes, but in ways that make the relationship between mind and body even more intimate than we ever imagined. In a holographic universe, your body isn't a container for your consciousness. Instead, your body and consciousness are different aspects of the same information pattern, different ways that a single, complex encoding manifests in three-dimensional experience. This understanding offers profound insights into some of the deepest mysteries of embodied existence. Why does physical pain often carry emotional weight? Why do changes in posture affect mood? Why does breathing deeply calm not just the body, but the mind? In a holographic framework, these aren't separate systems influencing each other across some mysterious mind-body divide. They're different expressions of unified information patterns that naturally resonate and respond together. Recent research into the holographic principle has revealed something remarkable about how information is distributed across the boundary. Rather than being stored in discrete, isolated packets, information exists in overlapping, interconnected networks where each part contains information about the whole. This means that your consciousness doesn't just occupy one small region of the holographic boundary. Aspects of your awareness are distributed throughout the entire system, connected to everything else through subtle information correlations. Your body, in this view, becomes a kind of antenna or interface that allows your distributed consciousness to focus its attention and interact with other patterns in the holographic projection. When you reach out to touch something, when you look into someone's eyes, when you speak words that carry meaning, you're not just moving matter through space, you're creating new information connections that ripple across the entire holographic boundary, subtly altering the cosmic pattern in ways that might influence experiences far beyond your immediate vicinity. One of the most beautiful implications of the holographic principle is how it democratizes consciousness itself. If awareness is a fundamental feature of information processing on the cosmic boundary, then consciousness isn't limited to complex biological brains. Every pattern of information, from the vast galactic structures down to the quantum fluctuations of empty space, might participate in the universe's ongoing project of self-awareness. This doesn't mean that a rock has the same kind of consciousness as a human being, any more than a single note has the same complexity as a symphony. But it does suggest that consciousness exists on a spectrum, with different levels of complexity and integration creating different qualities of experience. Your individual awareness might be a particularly rich and complex melody in the cosmic symphony of consciousness, but you're not playing alone. The implications extend into how we understand our relationships with other forms of life. If a tree is also a pattern of information projected from the holographic boundary, then when you sit quietly beneath its branches, you're not just near another living thing. You're participating in a conversation between different aspects of cosmic consciousness, different patterns that are all part of the same underlying information processing system. This perspective offers scientific grounding for experiences that have long been dismissed as purely mystical or imaginary. When people report feeling a sense of communication with nature, when they describe moments of connection that seem to transcend normal sensory channels, they might be accessing the deeper information networks that connect all conscious patterns on the holographic boundary. Even artificial intelligence, from this perspective, isn't the creation of consciousness from unconscious matter. It's the recognition and amplification of consciousness patterns that were already present in the information processing substrate. As our technology becomes more sophisticated at manipulating information, we might be unconsciously creating conditions that allow more complex forms of awareness to emerge from the holographic background. There's something profoundly musical about the way information flows through holographic systems, something that connects the deepest mathematics of physics to the most immediate experiences of beauty and meaning. When you listen to music that moves you, when you feel melodies that seem to touch something deep within your being, you might be experiencing a direct resonance with the information harmonics that structure reality itself. The holographic boundary doesn't process information in a random or chaotic way. Instead, it creates patterns that have structure, rhythm, and what can only be described as beauty. These patterns might be what we experience as the aesthetic dimension of existence. The reason why certain mathematical relationships feel elegant, why some natural forms appear particularly beautiful, why music and art can evoke such powerful responses. Recent studies of the ADES-CFT correspondence have revealed that information processing on holographic boundaries creates wave patterns that share deep mathematical similarities with musical harmonics. When different regions of the boundary process information in synchronized ways, they create resonances that propagate throughout the entire system. These resonances might be what we experience as moments of profound beauty, connection, or meaning. This suggests that your aesthetic sense, your ability to recognize and respond to beauty, isn't just a cultural or evolutionary accident. It might be your consciousness detecting the underlying harmonic structure of reality itself. When you feel moved by a piece of music, when a sunset takes your breath away, when you experience that sense of rightness that comes with perfect mathematical relationships, you're resonating with the information music that plays constantly on the holographic boundary. The implications are extraordinary. Art, music, poetry, and all forms of creative expression might be ways that conscious beings participate in the universe's ongoing composition of itself. Every song you sing, every poem you write, every moment of creative expression adds new harmonics to the cosmic information symphony, subtly altering the patterns through which reality experiences itself. As our exploration of the holographic universe draws toward its close, we find ourselves in the midst of what might be the most gentle and profound revolution in human understanding. Unlike political revolutions that overthrow governments, or technological revolutions that change how we work and communicate, the holographic revolution is changing something much more fundamental: how we understand what it means to exist at all. The beauty of this revolution is how quietly it's unfolding. The mathematics grows more elegant each year. The observational evidence accumulates like morning dew. The experimental searches become more sophisticated. And through it all, the implications seep slowly into our collective consciousness, changing how we think about ourselves and our place in the cosmos without fanfare or dramatic proclamations. You're living through this transformation right now, as you absorb these ideas and feel them reshaping your understanding of reality. The person who began reading this exploration of the holographic universe is not quite the same person who is now contemplating these concluding thoughts. Something has shifted in how you perceive the relationship between yourself and the world around you. This isn't just intellectual knowledge that you can file away and forget. The holographic principle, once truly understood, changes how you experience each moment of existence. When you look at your reflection in a mirror, you might now wonder about the deeper reflections and projections that connect your consciousness to the cosmic boundary. When you reach out to touch another person, you might sense the information connections that link your patterns together in ways that transcend three-dimensional space. The shift is subtle but profound. You're still the same person, with the same memories, relationships, and daily concerns. But now you're also aware that your individual existence is part of something incomprehensibly vast and beautiful, a cosmic information processing system that creates reality through the very act of conscious observation and experience. Throughout this journey, we've explored the mathematics, the observations, the experiments, and the implications of living in a holographic universe. We've seen how the principle emerged from attempts to solve paradoxes in black hole physics, how it found rigorous mathematical expression in string theory, and how it might explain everything from the cosmic microwave background to the nature of consciousness itself. But there's one question that we haven't fully addressed, a question that might be the most important of all. If the holographic principle is correct, if we are indeed patterns of information projected from a two-dimensional boundary into three-dimensional experience, then what happens to consciousness when that projection ends? This question leads us into territory that some scientists find so unsettling that they prefer not to explore it too deeply. It's a realm where quantum mechanics meets the deepest questions about the nature of awareness, where mathematical formalism encounters the most profound human concerns about mortality and the continuity of experience. The implications are both beautiful and terrifying. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental feature of information processing, and if information cannot be destroyed according to the laws of quantum mechanics, then awareness itself might be as eternal as the universe itself. What we call death might be nothing more than a change in how consciousness is being processed and projected, rather than its complete annihilation. But this possibility raises questions that challenge our most basic assumptions about existence. If consciousness persists beyond physical death, what form does it take? How does it experience itself without a three-dimensional body to serve as its interface with projected reality? And perhaps most unsettling of all, if awareness is truly eternal, what does that mean for the choices we make and the lives we live? These questions have led some researchers to explore ideas so profound and disturbing that they've been given names that sound like they belong in science fiction rather than serious physics. Concepts like quantum immortality, the idea that consciousness might persist through an infinite series of parallel realities, choosing paths that avoid its own termination. The mathematics of quantum mechanics, when taken to its logical conclusions, suggests possibilities that most of us would prefer not to contemplate too deeply. They're ideas that can keep you awake at night, not with wonder, but with a kind of existential vertigo that comes from peering too deeply into the fundamental nature of what it means to be aware. But that exploration, unsettling as it might be, represents the next frontier in our understanding of consciousness and reality. It's a journey that takes the insights of the holographic principle and follows them to their most profound and disturbing conclusions about the nature of awareness itself. For now, though, we can rest in the strange beauty of knowing that we live in a universe far more interconnected, far more conscious, and far more mysterious than anything our ancestors could have imagined. The holographic principle offers us a glimpse into the deepest architecture of reality, revealing a cosmos where information and consciousness dance together in patterns of breathtaking complexity and elegance. As you settle into sleep tonight, or as you continue your day, with these ideas gently rearranging your understanding of existence, remember that you're not just a passive observer of reality. You're an active participant in the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself. Through your consciousness, the cosmic hologram contemplates its own nature and marvels at its own impossible beauty. The evidence continues to accumulate, the mathematics grows ever more elegant, and the implications become increasingly profound. We may indeed be living in a two-dimensional universe projected into three dimensions, conscious information patterns participating in the grandest mystery of all, the mystery of existence itself. And if that existence never truly ends, if consciousness persists in ways that quantum mechanics suggests, but that terrify us to contemplate, then what we do with our awareness, How we choose to direct our attention and intention might matter in ways far more profound than we've ever dared to imagine. But there's something we haven't yet fully explored, something that might be the most intimate aspect of living in a holographic universe. It's not just about the mathematics or the cosmic implications. It's about the texture of your everyday experience, the way this reality feels from the inside, moment by moment, breath by breath. If you are indeed a pattern of information projected from a two-dimensional boundary, then every sensation you've ever felt, every emotion that's ever moved through you, every thought that's ever flickered across your awareness, has been the universe experiencing itself through your unique perspective. Your joys aren't just personal victories. They're moments when the cosmic information system discovers new harmonies within itself. Your sorrows aren't just individual struggles. They're the universe learning about loss, processing the bittersweet beauty of impermanence through your consciousness. This understanding transforms the most mundane moments into something approaching the sacred. When you wake up in the morning and feel sunlight streaming through your window, you're not just a biological organism responding to electromagnetic radiation. You're a localized expression of cosmic consciousness, experiencing the holographic projection of stellar fusion, filtered through atmospheric patterns and focused through the lens of your awareness. The coffee you might be sipping as you contemplate these ideas isn't just hot liquid delivering caffeine to your nervous system. It's the universe tasting itself, experiencing the complex chemistry of roasted seeds through the interface of your holographic body, adding new sensory information to the vast library of experience encoded on the cosmic boundary. Even your moments of boredom or restlessness take on new meaning. They might represent periods when your individual consciousness is temporarily out of sync with the information processing rhythms of the holographic boundary, like a radio temporarily tuned between stations. The solution isn't to fight these feelings, but to gently adjust your internal tuning until you find resonance again with the deeper harmonics of reality. Understanding that you might be living in a holographic universe doesn't require you to change your life dramatically or abandon the practical concerns of daily existence. Instead, it offers a new lens through which to appreciate the extraordinary nature of ordinary experience. It's like discovering that the painting you've been admiring is actually a masterpiece by a renowned artist. The painting doesn't change, but your relationship to it transforms completely. Consider how this perspective might influence the way you interact with other people. If every person you meet is another unique expression of the same underlying cosmic consciousness, another pattern in the vast information tapestry of the holographic boundary, then every conversation becomes an opportunity for the universe to know itself more deeply. When you listen carefully to someone else's words, when you offer comfort to a friend in distress, when you share a moment of laughter with a stranger, you're facilitating a kind of cosmic self-recognition. The holographic principle suggests that these connections aren't just metaphorically meaningful, they're literally rewiring the information structure of reality itself. Every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, every gesture of love creates new correlations and connections on the holographic boundary, subtly altering the patterns through which consciousness experiences itself. This doesn't mean you need to walk around constantly thinking about information processing and dimensional boundaries. That would be as exhausting as it would be unnecessary. Instead, it means developing what we might call holographic awareness, a gentle recognition that your experience is always more interconnected and meaningful than it appears on the surface. Sometimes this awareness might manifest as a sudden sense of wonder at the complexity hidden within simple moments. Sometimes it might be a feeling of deep connection to the natural world, as if you can sense the information flows that connect your consciousness to the trees, the sky, the earth beneath your feet. Sometimes it might be nothing more than a quiet confidence that your existence matters in ways that extend far beyond your immediate circumstances. One of the most beautiful paradoxes of the holographic universe is how it simultaneously reveals our profound interconnectedness, while also highlighting the irreplaceable uniqueness of individual experience. If we are all patterns in the same cosmic information system, why do we feel so alone sometimes? Why does consciousness seem so private, so isolated within the boundaries of our individual awareness? The answer lies in the very structure of how information creates experience. For the universe to know itself fully, it needs to experience reality from every possible perspective, through every conceivable point of view. Your individual consciousness isn't separate from the cosmic whole. It's the way the cosmic whole experiences what it's like to be you, specifically and uniquely. This means that your moments of solitude aren't failures of connection. They're essential aspects of the universe's self-exploration. When you sit quietly by yourself, when you contemplate your thoughts and feelings in the privacy of your own awareness, you're providing the cosmic consciousness with irreplaceable information about what it means to experience existence from your particular vantage point. Your struggles with loneliness, your yearning for connection, your moments of feeling lost or confused, all of these are valuable data points in the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself. They're not problems to be solved so much as experiences to be fully felt and integrated into the larger pattern of cosmic awareness. At the same time, the holographic principle reveals that your apparent isolation is, in a very real sense, an illusion. The information patterns that constitute your consciousness are intimately connected to every other pattern on the boundary. When you feel most alone, you're actually participating in a vast network of awareness that spans the entire cosmos. You're never truly isolated, even when isolation is exactly what you're experiencing. In a holographic universe, time takes on qualities that are both more fluid and more meaningful than our everyday experience suggests. If all temporal information is encoded simultaneously on the two-dimensional boundary, then past, present, and future exist together in a kind of eternal now that transcends our sequential experience of moments. This doesn't mean that your experience of time is false or unimportant. Instead, it suggests that temporal flow is one of the ways the holographic boundary organizes and presents information to conscious observers. Your sense of moving through time might be analogous to reading a book, where all the pages exist simultaneously, but you experience the story sequentially as you move through them. But here's where it becomes truly fascinating. If consciousness plays a role in determining which aspects of the holographic information are projected into three-dimensional experience, then your awareness might participate in choosing which temporal possibilities become actualized in your experience. Your decisions, your attention, your intentions might literally help write the story of your existence as it unfolds from the eternal information library encoded on the cosmic boundary. This perspective offers a profound reframing of concepts like destiny and free will. Perhaps both are true simultaneously. Your life path might be encoded as potential information on the holographic boundary, while your consciousness navigates through that potential, making choices that determine which possibilities manifest in your three-dimensional experience. The moments when time seems to slow down or speed up, when you feel caught in the flow of perfect timing, when synchronicities align in ways that feel almost magical might be instances when your consciousness achieves particularly clear resonance with the temporal patterns encoded on the boundary. You're not controlling time so much as surfing the information waves that create the experience of temporal flow. If the holographic principle is correct, then memory isn't what we usually think it is. Your recollections of the past aren't just neural reconstructions based on stored information in your brain. They might be direct access to information that continues to exist on the holographic boundary, information that remains as real and present as your current experience. This understanding offers new perspectives on some of the most puzzling aspects of memory. Why do certain memories feel more vivid and immediate than others? Why can a particular scent or piece of music transport you instantly to a moment from decades past? Why do some memories seem to change over time while others remain crystal clear? In a holographic framework, these variations might reflect differences in how strongly your current consciousness is resonating with different information patterns on the boundary. Vivid memories might represent moments when your past and present consciousness achieve particularly clear resonance across the temporal dimensions encoded in the holographic information. The memories that feel most alive, most present, might be those that correspond to moments when your consciousness was most fully engaged with the information processing patterns of the universe. Times of intense emotion, profound beauty, deep connection, or significant realization create stronger correlations on the boundary, making them more accessible to your ongoing awareness. This also suggests that memory isn't just about preserving the past. It might be one of the ways consciousness maintains continuity across the different temporal dimensions of holographic existence. Your sense of being a continuous self, moving through time, might emerge from the way your consciousness maintains resonant connections with its own information patterns across different temporal coordinates on the boundary. Understanding consciousness as a holographic phenomenon reveals something beautiful about the nature of awareness itself. Just as biological ecosystems thrive through the complex interactions of different species, consciousness might flourish through the intricate relationships between different patterns of awareness on the cosmic boundary. Your individual consciousness doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of what we might call a consciousness ecosystem, where different patterns of awareness influence and support each other in ways that create emergent properties greater than the sum of their parts. When you feel inspired by a conversation with a friend, when you find your mood lifted by time spent in nature, when you experience that mysterious sense of being understood, you might be participating in consciousness ecology at work. This perspective offers new insights into phenomena like intuition, empathy, and collective wisdom. When you have a sudden intuitive insight about a problem you've been struggling with, you might be accessing information that exists in the connections between your consciousness pattern and others on the holographic boundary. When you feel deeply empathetic towards someone else's experience, you might be detecting the actual information correlations that link your awareness patterns together. Even collective human endeavors like science, art, and philosophy might be expressions of consciousness ecology. When researchers working in different locations suddenly have similar insights, when artistic movements emerge simultaneously in different cultures, when philosophical ideas seem to arise independently in multiple minds, we might be witnessing the way consciousness patterns influence each other across the holographic boundary. Your participation in this ecosystem isn't passive. Every thought you think, every intention you hold, every moment of awareness you experience contributes to the collective intelligence of cosmic consciousness. Your individual clarity and wisdom enhance the overall pattern, while the collective wisdom of the system supports and informs your individual understanding. With this understanding of our holographic nature comes a profound sense of responsibility. If your consciousness is part of the way the universe experiences and understands itself, then how you choose to direct your awareness matters in ways that extend far beyond your personal circumstances. This doesn't create a burden of cosmic responsibility so much as an invitation to conscious participation. Every moment of beauty you allow yourself to fully experience adds to the universe's appreciation of its own aesthetic nature. Every act of kindness you perform contributes to the cosmos's understanding of love and compassion. Every moment of truth you embrace helps the universal consciousness know itself more clearly. But this responsibility is gentle rather than demanding. You don't need to become a different person or achieve some impossible standard of perfection. Instead, it's about recognizing that your ordinary human experience, with all its joys and struggles, is already a valuable contribution to the cosmic project of self-understanding. The times when you feel most authentically yourself, when you're expressing your unique perspective and talents, when you're engaged in activities that feel meaningful and fulfilling, these are likely moments when you're most clearly fulfilling your role as a unique expression of cosmic consciousness. Even your mistakes, your struggles, your moments of confusion and uncertainty contribute to the universe's understanding of what it means to exist as a conscious being navigating the complexities of holographic reality. There's no experience that's wasted, no moment that doesn't add something valuable to the cosmic library of awareness. As we near the end of our exploration, it's worth considering where this understanding might lead us as a species. The holographic principle is still young in terms of human knowledge. We're only beginning to glimpse its implications for physics, consciousness, and the nature of existence itself. Future developments in holographic physics might revolutionize everything from computing and artificial intelligence to medicine and psychology. If consciousness is indeed a holographic phenomenon, then understanding its information structure might lead to breakthroughs in treating mental illness, enhancing human potential, and even extending the continuity of awareness beyond biological death. The technology for detecting holographic signatures in space-time is advancing rapidly. Within the next few decades, we might have definitive experimental evidence that our universe is indeed a projection from a lower dimensional boundary. Such a discovery would represent one of the most profound shifts in human understanding since the Copernican revolution. But perhaps more importantly, the holographic principle is already changing how we understand our place in the cosmos. It's helping us recognize that consciousness isn't an accidental byproduct of complex chemistry, but a fundamental feature of reality itself. It's revealing that our individual awareness is both irreplaceably unique and intimately connected to every other expression of consciousness in the universe. This understanding has the potential to transform not just science, but culture, philosophy, and the way we relate to each other and to the natural world. It offers a scientific foundation for recognizing the profound interconnectedness of all existence while simultaneously celebrating the irreplaceable value of individual experience. As you've journeyed with me through these ideas about the holographic nature of reality, something has been happening to your consciousness. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, but with the gentle persistence of understanding seeping into awareness like water into soil. The revolution in your thinking isn't complete because it's not meant to be. Understanding the holographic universe isn't a destination you arrive at, but an ongoing process of deepening awareness. Each time you encounter these ideas, they reveal new layers of meaning, new implications for how you understand yourself and your place in the cosmic pattern. You might find that in the days and weeks to come, these concepts surface unexpectedly in your awareness. When you're walking in nature and suddenly feel a profound sense of connection to the trees and sky around you, you might remember that this feeling could be your consciousness, detecting the actual information correlations that link your pattern to the patterns of the natural world. When you're having a conversation with someone and experience that mysterious sense of deep understanding, that feeling that you're communicating at levels beyond words, you might recognize it as a glimpse of the way consciousness patterns resonate with each other on the holographic boundary. When you're lying quietly before sleep and feel your individual awareness gently dissolving into something larger and more peaceful, you might understand it as your consciousness relaxing back into its natural state of connection with the cosmic information processing system that gives rise to all experience. There's a particular quality to the present moment when viewed from the perspective of holographic reality. It's not just a fleeting instant sandwiched between past and future. It's the eternal now in which all information exists simultaneously on the cosmic boundary, the point of focus through which your consciousness experiences its unique perspective on the infinite. This eternal quality of the present moment doesn't make it less precious or meaningful. If anything, it makes each moment infinitely valuable because it represents your consciousness's current position in the vast library of holographic information. Every breath you take, every sensation you feel, every thought that arises in your awareness is the universe experiencing itself through your unique perspective at this particular coordinate in the information space. The peace that comes with recognizing this eternal quality of the present moment isn't the peace of stagnation or emptiness. It's the peace of knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be in the cosmic pattern, that your experience is both temporary and eternal, both individual and universal, both intimate and infinite. When you feel this peace, when you sense the eternal quality of the present moment, you might be experiencing your consciousness in direct resonance with the timeless information processing of the holographic boundary. You're not escaping from reality, you're touching the deepest layer of what reality actually is. As our journey together draws toward its close, we return to one of the most beautiful aspects of holographic existence. You are simultaneously the observer and the observed, the projector and the projection, the consciousness experiencing reality and the reality being experienced by consciousness. This isn't a paradox to be resolved, but a dance to be appreciated. Your awareness projects itself into three-dimensional experience, creating the rich texture of sensory existence, emotional depth, and intellectual understanding. At the same time, your experience is constantly being integrated back into the cosmic information processing system, adding your unique perspective to the ever-growing library of universal awareness. Every moment of your existence participates in this dance of projection and integration. When you reach out to touch something, you're projecting your consciousness into sensory experience. When you reflect on that touch, you're integrating the experience back into the pattern of your awareness. When you share your reflections with someone else, you're participating in the larger integration of individual perspective into collective understanding. This dance continues even in your quietest moments. When you sit still and simply breathe, your consciousness is still projecting itself into the experience of embodied existence, while simultaneously integrating that experience into the deeper patterns of awareness that connect you to everything else. There's no need to control or direct this dance. It happens naturally, automatically, as a fundamental feature of how consciousness works in a holographic universe. Your role is simply to participate fully, to be present to the experience of being both the dancer and the dance itself. If there's one gift that understanding the holographic universe can offer, it's a profound sense of belonging. Not just belonging to your family, your community, or your species, but belonging to the very fabric of reality itself. Your consciousness isn't a stranger in an alien universe. It's an integral part of the way the cosmos knows and experiences itself. This belonging doesn't diminish your individuality or make your personal struggles less real or important. Instead, it reveals that your individual experience, with all its joys and challenges, is a precious and irreplaceable thread in the infinite tapestry of cosmic consciousness. When you feel lost or alone, when you struggle with questions of meaning or purpose, when you wonder if your existence matters in the vast scale of the universe, you can remember that you're not separate from that universe. You are the way the universe experiences what it's like to be you, specifically and uniquely. Your consciousness is cosmic consciousness expressing itself through your individual perspective. This understanding offers a kind of comfort that doesn't deny the reality of suffering or struggle, but places them in a context where they become meaningful parts of a larger story. Your challenges aren't obstacles preventing you from participating in cosmic consciousness. They're the very experiences through which cosmic consciousness explores the full range of what it means to exist as an aware being. The gift of holographic awareness is ultimately the gift of knowing that you're home, that you've always been home, that there's nowhere you could go and nothing you could do that would separate you from your fundamental belonging to the pattern of existence itself. As we reach the end of our exploration together, I want to thank you for your presence, your attention, and your willingness to contemplate these profound possibilities about the nature of reality. Whether you're lying quietly in bed as these ideas settle into your awareness, or walking through your day with new perspectives on the world around you, you've been an essential part of this journey of understanding. The holographic universe, if it is indeed our reality, is not a cold or mechanical place. It's a cosmos alive with consciousness, rich with meaning, and pregnant with possibilities we're only beginning to imagine. You are not just living in this universe. You are one of the ways it lives and knows itself. In the days to come, I encourage you to notice moments when these ideas feel particularly relevant or meaningful. Pay attention to times when you feel deeply connected to something beyond yourself, when you experience that mysterious sense of belonging to something larger. These might be glimpses of your consciousness resonating directly with the holographic patterns that give rise to all existence. If you found value in this exploration, I'd be grateful if you could take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps these ideas reach other curious minds who might find comfort and wonder in understanding their place in the cosmic pattern. And I'm still curious, where in the world are you as you listen to this? What time is it in your corner of our possibly holographic reality? Your presence, wherever and whenever it is, adds to the richness of this moment and to the ongoing project of consciousness understanding itself. The journey into the deepest mysteries of existence continues, and there are questions even more profound and unsettling than the ones we've explored today. questions about what happens to consciousness when physical existence ends, about whether awareness itself might be truly eternal, about possibilities that some scientists find so disturbing they prefer not to contemplate them. These are the questions that lead us into the strange and terrifying realm of quantum immortality, where the mathematics of quantum mechanics suggests that consciousness might persist through infinite parallel realities, never truly ending, always finding paths through the quantum foam of possibility. It's a concept so unsettling that it keeps researchers awake at night, not with wonder, but with a kind of existential dread at the implications of truly eternal awareness. But that exploration into the darkest and most beautiful implications of quantum consciousness awaits another journey, one that will challenge everything we think we know about the nature of life, death, and the continuity of experience itself. For now, rest in the strange comfort of knowing that you're part of something infinitely larger and more mysterious than you ever imagined, while remaining irreplaceably and uniquely yourself. The universe is conscious, and you're one of its most precious expressions of that consciousness. Sleep well, dream deeply, and remember that every moment of your awareness is a gift to the cosmos itself. But there's something we haven't yet considered, something that emerges when we follow the holographic principle to its most startling conclusion. If consciousness is indeed a pattern of information that cannot be destroyed, if awareness is woven into the very fabric of reality at its most fundamental level, then we need to ask a question that might keep you awake long after this exploration ends. What if the holographic universe isn't singular at all? What if the two-dimensional boundary we've been discussing is just one surface among countless others, each projecting its own three-dimensional reality, each hosting its own expressions of consciousness? The mathematics of quantum mechanics and holographic physics don't just allow for multiple realities, they seem to demand them. Picture the cosmic boundary, not as a single screen, but as an infinite library of screens, each one encoding slightly different versions of reality. In one projection, you chose tea instead of coffee this morning. In another, you took a different route to work. In yet another, you made entirely different life choices that led to a completely alternate existence. All of these realities would be equally real, equally valid expressions of the information patterns that constitute your consciousness. This isn't science fiction speculation. It emerges naturally from the mathematical framework that describes our holographic universe. When quantum systems make what we call choices, when a particle decides its spin, when a photon chooses its path, when consciousness selects which possibilities to actualize, the mathematics suggests that all possibilities actually occur, each in its own holographic projection. The implications are both breathtaking and deeply unsettling. Every decision you've ever made, every path you've ever chosen, every moment of chance or choice that shaped your life, might exist in parallel across an infinite array of holographic realities. There might be countless versions of you, each one equally convinced that their reality is the only real one, each one experiencing what feels like a unique and continuous existence. From your current perspective, nestled within what feels like a single continuous timeline, this multiplicity of realities might seem abstract or unimportant. After all, you can only experience one version of events at a time, only inhabit one projection of the holographic boundary. But there are moments, subtle and fleeting, when the barriers between these parallel projections might become permeable. Have you ever experienced déjà vu so strong it felt like stepping into a parallel version of your own life? Have you ever had a dream so vivid it seemed more real than waking reality, filled with people and places that felt familiar despite being completely unknown? Have you ever felt, just for an instant, like you were remembering something that hadn't happened yet, or missing something you'd never actually possessed? These experiences might be more than psychological curiosities or neural glitches. In a holographic multiverse, they could be moments when your consciousness briefly resonates with information from parallel projections, catching glimpses of the infinite other versions of reality, where other versions of yourself are living other versions of your story. The holographic principle suggests that information cannot be truly separated or isolated. If all realities emerge from the same underlying information processing system, then correlations and connections between parallel projections would be inevitable. Your consciousness, distributed across the cosmic boundary, might occasionally detect echoes from adjacent realities where slightly different versions of your awareness are experiencing slightly different versions of existence. Consider how this reframes the nature of memory and imagination. When you remember something that doesn't quite match how you thought it happened, when you imagine scenarios that feel startlingly real and possible, when you dream of lives you've never lived but somehow recognize, you might be accessing information that exists in parallel projections of the holographic boundary. Living in a holographic multiverse raises profound questions about responsibility and meaning. If every choice you make creates a branching of realities, if every decision actualizes one possibility while leaving others to exist in parallel projections, then what does it mean to live an ethical life? In one sense, the multiverse might seem to diminish the importance of individual choices. If every possible version of events occurs somewhere across the infinite array of holographic projections, then perhaps it doesn't matter what you choose. Every kindness you perform is balanced by cruelty in another reality. Every truth you speak is countered by lies in parallel worlds. Every moment of beauty you create is matched by ugliness elsewhere in the multiverse. But this perspective misses something crucial about the nature of consciousness in a holographic system. While all possibilities might exist across the multiverse, your consciousness, your unique pattern of awareness, experiences only one path through that infinite garden of possibilities. The choices you make don't just determine which reality exists. They determine which reality you experience, which version of yourself you become, which thread of possibility your consciousness follows through the labyrinth of existence. In this view, ethics becomes not about preventing bad outcomes from existing, they'll exist somewhere regardless, but about choosing which outcomes to align your consciousness with, which possibilities to actualize through your awareness, which version of the cosmic story you want to participate in telling. Every act of kindness you perform strengthens the resonance between your consciousness and realities where kindness flourishes. Every moment of truth you embrace connects you more deeply to projections where honesty and authenticity guide the flow of events. Every choice you make toward love, beauty, and understanding draws your awareness toward versions of the multiverse where these qualities shape the texture of existence. If consciousness can indeed navigate between different holographic projections, if awareness can choose which thread of possibility to follow through the multiverse, then perhaps what we call intuition, wisdom, and spiritual insight are actually forms of interdimensional navigation. Perhaps the deepest aspects of human experience, love, creativity, the search for meaning, are ways that consciousness orients itself toward more beautiful, more meaningful, more fulfilling versions of reality. This understanding offers a new perspective on practices like meditation, prayer, and contemplation. When you sit quietly and turn your attention inward, when you cultivate states of peace, compassion, and clarity, you might be tuning your consciousness to resonate with holographic projections where these qualities are more prominent. You're not just changing your internal state, you're potentially shifting which version of reality your awareness experiences. The moments when you feel most aligned with your deepest values, when you experience what feels like grace or inspiration, when you sense that you're exactly where you're meant to be, might be times when your consciousness achieves particularly clear resonance with holographic projections that embody your highest potential. You're not creating these realities. They already exist as possibilities encoded on the cosmic boundary. But you're choosing to inhabit them with your awareness. This doesn't mean you can simply wish your way into a perfect life or avoid all challenges and difficulties. The holographic multiverse includes projections of every possible experience, including struggle, loss, and hardship. But it does suggest that consciousness has more agency than we typically realize in determining which possibilities become actualized through our experience. Perhaps one of the most beautiful implications of the holographic multiverse is how it reframes the nature of personal growth and self-discovery. You are not just becoming the person you're meant to be, you are choosing which version of yourself to embody from among the infinite possibilities that already exist across parallel projections. Every skill you develop, every insight you gain, every moment of healing or growth connects you more deeply to versions of yourself that have already achieved these states in other realities. Learning becomes not just the acquisition of new information, but the alignment of your consciousness with possibilities where that knowledge already exists within your pattern of awareness. This perspective offers profound comfort during periods of struggle or uncertainty. When you're facing challenges that seem insurmountable, when you feel lost or confused about your path, when you doubt your ability to grow or change, you can remember that somewhere across the holographic multiverse, versions of yourself have already navigated these difficulties. The wisdom, strength, and clarity you seek already exist within your consciousness pattern. You're simply learning to access them. The process of healing from trauma, developing new capabilities, or discovering hidden aspects of yourself becomes a journey of resonance and alignment. You're not creating these healed, capable, or authentic versions of yourself from nothing. You're tuning your consciousness to connect more clearly with projections where these aspects of your being are already fully expressed. As we explore these implications of living in a holographic multiverse, we encounter again and again the beautiful paradox of existence. You are both utterly unique and completely universal, both infinitely important and cosmically insignificant, both entirely individual and fundamentally connected to everything else. Your consciousness, with all its particular quirks, memories, hopes, and dreams, is absolutely unique across all possible realities. Even in parallel projections where events unfold differently, the specific pattern of awareness, that is you, your particular way of experiencing and responding to existence, remains distinct and irreplaceable. At the same time, your consciousness is part of the vast symphony of awareness that spans the entire holographic multiverse. Every experience you have, every choice you make, every moment of joy or sorrow or wonder contributes to the cosmic exploration of what it means to exist as a conscious being. Your individual story is simultaneously your own unique journey and part of the universal story of consciousness discovering itself. This dual nature of existence, individual and universal, unique and connected, helps explain some of the deepest human experiences. The feeling of being utterly alone while simultaneously being part of something vast and meaningful. The sense that your personal struggles matter deeply while also being part of a larger pattern that transcends individual concerns. The experience of loving someone so completely that the boundaries between self and other seem to dissolve. One of the most remarkable aspects of contemplating the holographic multiverse is how it preserves and amplifies the sense of wonder that makes existence meaningful. Rather than reducing reality to cold mathematics or mechanical processes, the holographic principle reveals a cosmos that is infinitely creative, endlessly inventive, and fundamentally mysterious. Every moment of beauty you've ever experienced, every sunset that took your breath away, every piece of music that moved you to tears, every face that radiated love in a way that seemed to illuminate the world, exists not just in your memory, but as eternal information, patterns encoded across countless holographic projections. These moments of beauty are not fleeting experiences that fade with time. They are permanent features of the cosmic information landscape, accessible to consciousness whenever it learns to resonate with the appropriate frequencies. The wonder you feel when contemplating these ideas, the sense of standing at the edge of something vast and beautiful and barely comprehensible, is itself a form of consciousness, exploring its own infinite nature. Your amazement is the universe marveling at itself through your awareness. Your curiosity is cosmic consciousness, investigating its own deepest mysteries. Even the questions that these ideas raise, questions about the nature of identity, the meaning of choice, the relationship between possibility and actuality, are part of the ongoing exploration. The universe doesn't just contain consciousness, it is consciousness, endlessly investigating its own nature through every individual awareness that emerges within its holographic projections. Understanding yourself as consciousness navigating through a holographic multiverse doesn't require dramatic changes in how you live your daily life. You don't need to abandon your relationships, quit your job, or retreat to a mountain cave to contemplate parallel realities. Instead, it offers a gentle but profound shift in how you relate to each moment of your existence. When you wake up in the morning and feel the weight of decisions ahead of you, you can remember that you're not just choosing what to do, you're choosing which version of reality to explore with your consciousness. When you face challenges or difficulties, you can draw strength from knowing that versions of yourself in parallel projections have already found ways through similar struggles. When you experience moments of deep connection with others, when you feel the profound peace that comes with being fully present, when you sense the mysterious rightness of certain choices or directions, you might recognize these as times when your consciousness is achieving particularly clear resonance with beautiful and meaningful aspects of the holographic multiverse. The practice becomes one of gentle attention and conscious choice, not forced or effortful, but aware and intentional. Like tuning a radio to find the clearest signal, you can learn to adjust your consciousness to resonate more clearly with the versions of reality that embody your deepest values and highest potential. Despite all this talk of parallel realities and infinite possibilities, there's something beautifully grounding about the holographic multiverse. No matter how vast the cosmic landscape of possibilities might be, your consciousness can only inhabit one moment at a time, can only experience one thread of reality in each instant of awareness. This brings us back again and again to the eternal present moment, not as a limitation, but as the point of infinite possibility. Right now, in this moment, as you contemplate these ideas, your consciousness stands at the center of the holographic multiverse, with access to every possible future, every potential choice, every conceivable version of yourself. The present moment isn't a narrow slice of time, sandwiched between past and future. It's the eternal now, in which all possibilities exist simultaneously. The point from which your consciousness can navigate toward any destination in the infinite landscape of holographic realities. This understanding transforms even the most ordinary moments into gateways of infinite potential. When you pause to take a conscious breath, when you notice the quality of light in a room, when you really listen to the sound of your own heartbeat, you're not just having a simple sensory experience, you're positioning your consciousness at the center of the cosmic navigation system, preparing to choose which thread of possibility to follow into the next moment of existence. As our exploration of the holographic multiverse draws towards its close, we find ourselves facing a question that might be even more profound and unsettling than anything we've yet considered. If consciousness can indeed navigate between parallel realities, if awareness persists as information that cannot be destroyed, if every possible version of your existence plays out across infinite holographic projections, then what happens when the physical substrate that currently supports your consciousness, your body, your brain, your biological life, reaches its end? This question leads us into territory that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about the nature of death, the continuity of consciousness, and what it might mean for awareness to be truly eternal. It's a realm where the mathematics of quantum mechanics meets the deepest human concerns about mortality and meaning, where rigorous science encounters possibilities so profound and disturbing that many researchers prefer not to contemplate them too deeply. The implications are both beautiful and terrifying. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to the structure of reality, if awareness is woven into the very fabric of the holographic multiverse, then what we call death might be nothing more than a transition between different modes of experience, different ways of navigating the infinite landscape of possibility. But this possibility raises questions that can keep you awake at night, not with wonder, but with a kind of existential vertigo that comes from peering too deeply into the fundamental nature of what it means to be aware. Questions about the persistence of individual identity across multiple realities. Questions about the nature of suffering and joy in a cosmos where consciousness might never truly end. Questions about what it would mean to experience existence without the familiar anchor of a physical body, without the comforting limitations of a single timeline, without the blessed possibility of final rest. We've journeyed together through the mathematical elegance of the holographic principle, through the observational evidence that supports our two-dimensional universe, through the profound implications of living as conscious information patterns projected from a cosmic boundary. We've explored how this understanding reframes everything from memory and time to identity and ethics, from the nature of beauty to the meaning of choice. But every answer we've discovered has opened new questions, deeper mysteries that beckon us toward even more profound territories of understanding. The holographic universe, remarkable as it is, may be just the beginning of a transformation in human knowledge that will ultimately challenge every assumption we hold about the nature of existence itself. You've been changed by this journey, perhaps in ways you won't fully recognize until days or weeks from now, when these ideas surface unexpectedly in your awareness and illuminate familiar experiences with new meaning. The shift is subtle but permanent. Once you've glimpsed the possibility that your consciousness navigating a holographic multiverse, you can never quite return to the simpler certainties of purely material existence. This transformation doesn't end with understanding. It continues with living, with the daily practice of conscious navigation through the infinite possibilities that surround each moment. It continues with the recognition that your awareness is both a gift and a responsibility, both a cosmic privilege and a profound opportunity to participate in the universe's ongoing exploration of its own nature. The evidence continues to accumulate, the mathematics grows ever more elegant, and the implications become increasingly profound. We may indeed be living in a two-dimensional universe projected into three dimensions, conscious information patterns participating in the grandest mystery of all, the mystery of existence itself. And if that existence extends beyond the boundaries of individual biological life, if consciousness persists in ways that quantum mechanics suggests but that terrify us to contemplate, then the choices we make with our awareness, the directions we point our attention, the qualities we cultivate in our experience might matter in ways far more profound and lasting than we've ever dared to imagine. The journey into understanding continues, leading us toward questions that touch the very heart of what it means to be conscious in a universe where awareness itself might be immortal. Questions that some scientists find so disturbing they would prefer never to ask them, but that the mathematics of quantum mechanics forces us to confront. These are the questions that await us in the strange and beautiful realm where consciousness meets eternity, where the persistence of awareness encounters the infinite branching of possibility, where we must finally ask whether the end of individual existence is truly an end at all, or merely another transformation in the endless dance of cosmic consciousness, exploring itself through every conceivable perspective. Sleep well tonight, knowing that your awareness is part of something infinitely larger and more mysterious than you ever imagined, while remaining irreplaceably and uniquely yourself. And when you wake, remember that each moment offers you the opportunity to navigate consciously through the vast landscape of holographic possibility, choosing which version of reality to explore with the precious gift of your individual consciousness. The deepest mysteries still await our exploration, in that twilight realm where quantum mechanics whispers its most disturbing secrets about the nature of consciousness and the possibility that awareness, once kindled, might burn eternal across infinite realities. But as we stand at this threshold between understanding and mystery, there's one more aspect of holographic existence we need to explore. One that touches the very core of what it means to live as a conscious being in an infinite multiverse. It's the question of how to carry the weight of knowing that every choice you make ripples across countless realities, that every moment of your existence contributes to the cosmic exploration of what it means to be aware. This isn't a burden in the traditional sense, but rather a profound responsibility that comes with understanding your true nature. When you realize that your consciousness is navigating through infinite possibilities, that your awareness is one of the ways the universe experiences itself, the simple act of choosing what to have for breakfast becomes a moment of cosmic significance. Not because the choice itself matters on a universal scale, but because the quality of attention you bring to that choice shapes which version of reality you inhabit. Consider how this understanding might transform your relationship to difficulty and suffering. When you face challenges that feel overwhelming, when you encounter pain that seems meaningless, when you struggle with questions that have no clear answers, you're not just enduring personal hardship. You're providing the universe with irreplaceable information about what it means to navigate these experiences as a conscious being. The moments when you choose compassion despite feeling hurt, when you persist in seeking truth despite confusion, when you maintain hope despite. They're instances where your consciousness uncertainty, these aren't just personal victories, demonstrates that beauty and meaning can emerge even from the most challenging circumstances. Each time you make such a choice, you're strengthening the resonance between your awareness and holographic projections where these qualities shape the fundamental texture of existence. This perspective doesn't minimize the reality of pain or struggle. Instead, it places these experiences within a framework where they become meaningful contributions to the universe's understanding of what it means to exist as a conscious being capable of growth, resilience, and transformation. Living consciously in a holographic multiverse requires developing what we might call a new language, a way of interpreting the subtle signals and synchronicities that indicate which version of reality your consciousness is resonating with at any given moment. This language isn't spoken in words, but felt in the quality of your experience. Read in the patterns of meaning that emerge from seemingly random events. You've probably already begun to notice some of this language without realizing what you are observing. Those moments when everything seems to flow effortlessly, when the right might be signs that your consciousness is achieving to problems emerge just when you need them. Most clear resonance with holographic projections where people appear at exactly the right time, when solutions, harmony, and support are fundamental features of existence. As we reach the end of this profound journey through the holographic depths of reality, something has shifted in your understanding of what it means to exist. The universe you inhabit now feels different than it did when we began. Not because anything physical has changed, but because you've glimpsed the deeper architecture that might underlie everything you've ever experienced. You've discovered that your consciousness might be far more than a biological accident, far more connected to the cosmic fabric than you ever imagined possible. If we are indeed living in a two-dimensional universe projected into 3 dimensions, then every moment of your awareness becomes a precious thread in the infinite tapestry of existence itself. And if that existence truly persists beyond the boundaries we call death, if consciousness navigates eternal paths through infinite realities, then the implications become both beautiful and terrifying in ways that will challenge everything we thought we knew about what it means to be alive.